Welcome back to the Kaspa Silver YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk about transactions per second versus blocks per second. And I think this picture gives an excellent illustration of how people view the crypto market when they're looking at the fundamentals of a project. Many people will see these huge amounts of TPS and will just flock to it like crazy. And Kaspa is here trying to show its huge amounts of BPS that it's going to be doing. And there's only a few that understand this path, but this path requires education. There's books. It requires some knowledge. It requires some digging into to understand what's really being built here. And I really think that what Kaspa has is completely unique to the whole entire crypto space. Now, just for example, we can look at Solana here, and you could see that Solana, if you go down, you can see that they have about 4,000 transactions per second. That's where they're kind of advertising right now, saying it's super fast, has a block time of 400 milliseconds, and all this kind of stuff. And with confirmation times, transaction per second, and all that kind of stuff, speed is very needed on a blockchain. That is for sure. We need speed on a blockchain because we need to process thousands and thousands of people who want to use these blockchains in the future. But what they don't tell you is how they achieve this. And typically they achieve this through proof of stake algorithm protocols, and they're just not really good. I mean, they don't usually promote the fact that many times Solana has had network outages where the blockchain was stuck for more than a day over the weekend, recovering only after validators restarted the network, just showing how highly centralized these type of crypto investments could be when the whole purpose of crypto was to be decentralized. Really, the word decentralized is just a name that's just slapped onto anything, but when you really look deeper into it, they're really not decentralized at all. And in fact, nowadays, we even have people like Vitalik, the co-founder of Ethereum, admitting that, their network is not even decentralized at all, pretty much. And I will be showing this later. Another example of these new currencies, cryptocurrencies, which currencies are in quotation marks because to me they're just crypto companies. They're not really doing the currency part at all because they have all of these allocated funds to private investors and to the team and all this kind of stuff. And you get brand new coins that launched like a few months ago that perform just like this. And then not only that, if you look a little bit deeper into what they're trying to advertise themselves as, you could see SEI, the fastest layer 1 blockchain. And I agree. There's people who say that, the website for Kaspa needs to be upgraded. It has a lot of things that are just said everywhere. I mean, every single cryptocurrency claims to be the fastest, to handle the most and whatnot. And yeah, it sucks that Kaspa can't claim these things, even though when you look at the facts, it's claiming these things and it actually proves it to be true. And another thing that people forget is that what Kaspa is claiming to do is all being done on a pure proof of work system similar to Bitcoin while maintaining security and decentralization, which is not seen in the space at all. There are no competitors to Kaspa when it comes to proof of work, and this is why Kaspa is becoming almost the standard for proof of work on how it should be built going forward. Now, let's take a look at blocks per second versus transactions per second. So TPS and BPS, those are the abbreviations for these. And then I'm going to add a abbreviation of my own, which is CT, which is not something we're really going to get into this video, but that's just confirmation time. That is how long it takes for your transaction to be confirmed on the network as being true and there. And for Kaspa, in this case, it's 10-second confirmation times, which is very, very impossible on things like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and all those kind of other proof of works because they have very old protocols. So let me get this clear. Increasing transactions per second does not increase speeds. Increasing block per second does not increase speeds. And this is because the confirmation time for Kaspa is 10 seconds, and it will always be 10 seconds. The only time where the speeds are going to be increasing is when Kaspa upgrades to the Dagnite protocol in the future. This is where the speeds of the network are going to be determined on the network condition, and it can be lightning fast or it will adjust itself to whatever their environment is. If there's more traffic, it will adjust itself to that. But basically the network will be self-reliant on itself without anyone having to come in and update it or change the network so that it can adjust to the different traffic levels of transactions. So this is basically how it works. Each block holds transactions, and each block size on Kaspa is 1 megabyte, which is exactly the same like Bitcoin. Each block size on Bitcoin is 1 to 4 megabytes. Bitcoin did just do a recent upgrade. I believe it's called Taproot. And this upgrade does allow the megabytes of block sizes to increase a little bit to 4 megabytes. But this still kind of allows only for 5 to 7 transactions per second, because the block speeds are 1 block every 10 minutes for Bitcoin. Each block can hold around 4,000 transactions, and then if you do the math for every 10 minutes, basically that's only equaling 5 to 7 TPS. And so if we continue here, each block on Kaspa can hold around the same, but 250 transactions has been observed as the highest so far. Blocks per second is 1 second, so we can say 250 TPS is what Kaspa has right now. But currently, we're only seeing Kaspa do like 3 to 4 transactions per second. Sometimes it jumps up really high to like 10 and stuff like that, but it's really not needed because Kaspa is not that adopted where we need to see all these transactions happening. So increase block size to increase transaction per second, but this brings issues. This is what a lot of Bitcoiners were trying to decide on how to increase Bitcoin's just scalability problem, which is the fact that it cannot process a lot of transactions, which then will slow down the network entirely. So increasing the block size is what they suggested so that each block can hold more transactions. Now, doing this brings a lot of issues because that means nodes require way more storage to be able to hold these transactions. So that means it's going to increase centralization, because now nodes may have to be a lot more higher powerful hardware that has a lot more storage, which costs a lot more money. So there's a barrier of entry for nodes to exist, therefore increasing centralization. And also it could increase latency, which harms confirmation times. So the solution for this is to instead we increase blocks per second first. Before we increase block sizes, which Kaspa is not afraid to do, it could do it, but it's just there's no reason to do it because Kaspa is a block DAG. And this allows us to not orphan blocks, use every single block that a miner mines in the chain, and then we can increase the blocks time. So now we're going to be increasing very soon to 10 blocks per second, which would equal to 3,000 transactions per second. And this is because recently they had tested the 10 blocks per second on Rust, and they were able to confirm that 3,000 transactions per second was happening on this tested network completely on the main net layer. This isn't a layer 2 solution. This isn't anything like that. This is on the main layer 1 solution, processing 3,000 transactions per second on a proof of work network, staying decentralized and secure. Now, in the future, if we do need more transactions per second, we could just simply keep cranking up the blocks per second. The goal that Jonathan wants for Kaspa is to see it one day at 100 blocks per second, which would equal to 30,000 transactions per second. So when the upgrade comes to 10 blocks per second with Rust on a proof of work, 259 million transactions can be done a day, and we don't even need that right now. Why? Well, if you look at something like Bitcoin, right now Bitcoin's confirmation times are, the average is around 37 minutes, and Kaspa's confirmation times is 10 seconds. Then if we're looking at the transactions per day, Bitcoin usually does only about 485,000 transactions per day, and Kaspa, once it has 10 blocks per second, can process millions of transactions per day, and it's not even needed. Not even the number one cryptocurrency in the market currently is handling 1 million transactions per day. Now, if you're looking at something like Ethereum, Ethereum is handling 1 million transactions per day, but again, that only equals up to around 365 million transactions for the whole entire year. Kaspa is able to do 200 million transactions in a day. And that's just because of the fact that its block speeds are 1 second. And if you increase the blocks per second, then that means each block has a certain amount of transactions, which in Kaspa's case would be around 300 transactions. You increase it to 10 blocks per second. That means you're going to be able to have 3,000 transactions per second, and you don't even have to use a layer 2 solution. It's all on the mainnet layer, and you can still remain secured, you can still remain decentralized, and you can still remain proof of work. You don't have to transition to a proof of stake, which just only increases centralization. So going forward here, I want to take a look at this article written by Nathaniel, which is one of the main writers for Kaspa. He also wrote the book of Kaspa. If you have not gotten that yet, you can go ahead and look on Amazon and order that book. That book is really amazing. His writing style is really awesome, and he explains Kaspa really well. But I just want to highlight and talk about these things here. So BPS is often seen as the better metric in blockchain systems, as blocks are the fundamental unit of data in a blockchain. A higher BPS value indicates that the blockchain is able to commit transactions more frequently. Therefore, a higher BPS is seen as a sign of a more efficient and secure network. On the other hand, TPS is more direct measure of the transaction processing capacity of a blockchain. It is often used to compare the performance of different blockchain platforms. TPS is a good metric for evaluating a blockchain's practical utility for applications requiring a large transaction throughput. However, BPS and TPS are both crucial for decentralization, decreasing the entry barrier for both pool and solo mining. Each helps in its own way. And so this is why Kaspa doesn't need a transition to a proof of stake to be able to scale itself. So take a look at this. Speed equals decentralization. By increasing the BPS, you reduce the percentage of mining power required for a sustainable pace of return on investment, or ROI. High BPS is essential for small miners' accessibility and entry by increasing the odds of generating a profit for participating in securing the network. The more miners, the more decentralized, especially solo miners. Additionally, Kaspa can support up to 90 million monthly profitable solo miners. Secondly, the increased block rate dramatically reduces the variance or a deviation interval in time between two blocks, helping with a more consistent reward/revenue generation. In this case, the benefit of high BPS would only apply to a single stake architecture, such as Kaspa's block DAG. In sharded systems, the ROI time remains high despite the overall high BPS, as the miner has to commit in advance to a chain. When it comes to pool miners, a high TPS shines. Proof of work chains, especially deflationary ones, block rewards will diminish over time, and fees become the compensation for miners' work. So transaction fees are expected to increase as time goes on, and so will the waiting time for an ROI that makes sense to cash out due to accruing their fees from the pool. Solo mining eradicates this issue. The higher the TPS, the lower the fees. 1,000 times higher TPS equals 1,000 times lower fees. And this is why Kaspa won't struggle with that fee issue like something that Bitcoin has or Ethereum has. Kaspa will have high transactions per second, which will allow for the fees to be 1,000 times less if you're increasing TPS 1,000 times more. Bitcoin can only handle 5 to 7 transactions per second. Ethereum at the moment can only handle about 10 to 20 transactions per second. I know in the future they're trying to label itself saying that's going to be able to do hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, but it requires them just completely centralizing their network to even achieve this. So continuing on here, both BPS and TPS play a vital role in maintaining the longevity of proof of work and are more than just features of a chain. They have significant impacts on the economy, functionality, and ecosystem as a whole. So it's very, very important that we do increase BPS and TPS, because it's only going to increase decentralization for Kaspa, and on top of that, it will still remain secure because it will continue using its original protocol, which is the same Nakamoto consensus but just a generalized version of it. And we don't have to be something like Ethereum where the co-founder just openly announced that node centralization is one of Ethereum's main challenges, but the perfect solution may not come for another 20 years. I'm sorry, but technology is only getting faster, and we don't have 20 years to try to solve the centralization issue. Kaspa has solved the centralization issue already with its proof of work tech that is revolutionizing the space. And when it upgrades to 10 blocks per second, it will seriously have no competitors at all. There is no proof of work that is able to do what Kaspa is doing. So I hope after this video, you understand the importance of increasing the block speeds instead of just simply increasing the transaction speeds. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. So please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and as always, don't be average, be different.